Okay, so normally we discuss sport on this channel, but this video we're going to discuss mental health and addiction and the stigma around it and how we need to end it. Because the majority of viewers on this channel are aged between 25 and 45 and are male. Okay? A lot of my younger and older viewers are on holiday right now because it's the end of the summer holidays and school and university's off for the summer. Older people, they might have gone on that 2-week holiday to a Tuscan villa or a river cruise or down to the West Country, gone camping. It's North America, they might have gone, down to the Bahamas, the Caribbean, that kind of thing. So they've gone on holiday. So the majority of viewers this summer for the last 8 weeks have been 25 to 45 and male. So the lads, okay? The group of mates who go to every football match on a Saturday at 3 o'clock, who do quad biking together, paintballing, even go-karting's kind of fun. Do all the group activities. They go to the pub together, they go out on a night out to the bars and nightclubs together. That kind of dynamic. The bros, okay? The lads, the best mates, right? They go on holiday together sometimes to Greece and Spain and the Caribbean and have those lads' holidays. But here's the thing, the biggest killer of our age group, because I'm part of this age group, is mental health and addiction. Suicide and overdose. Accidental or deliberate, doesn't matter. Or related illnesses. Biggest killer. And society is too afraid to talk about it. And sometimes we are too afraid to talk about it. And what I've found, the best way I've coped, is to do activities with the bros, right, that don't involve alcohol or recreational drugs. Because I've got a theory, if you've got to use alcohol and recreationals to have a good time, you're not having a good time. There's also, if you do want to have a drink and you're having that barbecue together, or you're having that, you're camping by the lake and you're mucking around, on the lake or on the river, and you've got your boat out and you're having that camping weekend and you've got the barbecue going, you can always notice that friend who does things to excess and the friend who's also withdrawn. They're the ones you've got to worry about. It's the one who's being really quiet and the one who's being really loud. Because guess what? I used to be both. I used to be the really quiet one, and then I used to be the really loud one. They're the ones you've actually got to worry about. The one who's the life of the party and the one who's just sat there just chilling. They're actually the ones you've got to worry about. Because he's withdrawn, he's not being as involved in all the activities. The other one, hey, he's doing things a bit too excessively and and too much risk there. They're actually the ones that you've got to be worried about. Everyone else who's mingling, doing a bit of pieces, you're good. Now, the one who's doing all the excessive drinking and all the excessive partying, he's probably the addict of the group, most likely. The one who's quiet is the one who's probably suffering the most with some form of mental illness, depression, anxiety. Actually, probably the one who's struggling, and he's the one who's finding it most difficult to be relaxed around the rest of the group. Now, I've got friends in both extremes, and I've been in both extremes. And now that I don't drink anymore and I don't party hard anymore, and I've discussed my own struggles, I'm feeling, I feel the aches and pains from all the various, antic related injuries, because there are a few. I've fallen off a few fences, and I've fallen over a few tree logs, and I've fallen off mountain bikes, and I've been shot with paintballs, and had a few lad related injuries, as I call it. Yeah, your body feels it, but at the same time, I look back on some of the antics and I actually laugh at myself, not with myself. I'm not laughing with me, I'm laughing at, because there's a bit of shame there, but there's also that stigma, right? And let's circle back. So you've got your friends you need to look after, but you've also got to put them in a comfortable place where they feel able to talk. There's a problem though, and this is the stigma we need to break down. We need to actually put our hands up and say this is not okay, and that is the stigma around it. And we are taught as young teenagers growing up, boys and young men, when we become adults, you've got to be tough. You can't show weakness. You can't show emotion. That's weak. That's weak. That's weak. You've got to be a tough man. You've got to be a tough guy. Showing weakness is effeminate. It's girly. That's the biggest load of BS. Biggest load of BS I've ever heard in my entire life. Some of the toughest sons of bitches I know, right, have gone through some shit. And sometimes I get a message off a friend going, I'm not doing good at the moment. I'm struggling a little bit. One of my friends is one of the toughest doormen I've ever met. He's also an ex-wrestler. People go, wrestling's fake. Actually, no, he almost broke his back, so wrestling isn't fake. It's just choreographed. It's a story. It's violent storytelling is the best way I can describe pro wrestling. But he had a bad back injury. Had to give it up. He's currently his therapy, the way he's dealing with his crap, is writing a book. And actually, I've read bits of his manuscript and I've helped him with some ideas to get some characters development. It is actually I think you could turn this into a film. It's actually quite a good book. If you like your cops and robbers and cop films like Lethal Weapon, stuff like that, video games like LA Noire, I think Miami Vice, you might like what this book is, if and when he ever bloody finishes it. But that's been his therapy for the last decade, is writing this book. He's gone through a messy divorce. He's had some health issues. And his mental health and has been impacted by a lot of the problems he's faced, relationship breakdown and stuff. I tell him, though, jokingly, he's the worst court scribe in history. If he was a court scribe in the medieval times, he's probably been locked in a tower somewhere for failing to be the good court scribe. But he's got a wicked sense of humour. He's a passionate sports fan, which helps. And I always send him funny videos and memes to keep the morale up, because laughter is a good medicine. But again, he hid away from his struggles because of that stigma about showing emotion is weak, and it nearly killed him. Now, I've discussed about the summer of 2020. Some of the videos on the other channel, the History Boffin, show some of the adventures of 2020. I had some fun times with a couple of good mates. They were in a dark place at the time. I helped get them out of that dark place by getting them out of their comfort zone a little bit, but also taking them away from drugs and alcohol for a little bit, at least doing some of the activities that we were doing. So what we did is we had a lot of barbecues together. We walked up and down the Thames, found some fun stuff. We swam in the river. We shouldn't have really done that, because we now know all the raw sewage that's been dumped into the River Thames by Thames Water. But we had some fun, right? We explored some new places. We found abandoned houses. We basically just were out and about in the countryside, mucking around in the Thames Valley. It was great fun. Great fun. There were some drunken antics as well, but hey, look, we had some great fun. We had some adventures, and it got my friends out of a dark place. And then when I got into my dark place, when I lost my job, and I was like, shit, I've just moved into a new flat. I could basically be homeless. They got me out of my dark place. So we looked after each other. We had some fun. But because we were having fun and looking after each other and taking each other a little bit out of the comfort zone and actually being out and about and doing different activities that we wouldn't normally do, actually, we made ourselves better mentally. And we had conversations about how we were having a tough time. One of my mates had just had a kidney transplant. Another one of my mates was on long-term furlough and wasn't sure if his company was going to survive the pandemic. They're both now in a much better place than what they were 3 and a bit years ago. 2020, summer of 2020, best summer of our lives. Honestly, we've all admitted, without that summer, probably all of us wouldn't be here. Now, we need to break down that stigma. We need to also be able to have some tough conversations every day of the year. We need to look at our friends let's say you're on a night out. You need to look at that friend who's drinking too much. Who's every time you go out, he's the one who's getting the most drunk. He's the one who's actually having issues where he's constantly turning over job turnover. His relationships keep breaking down. He never seems to be settled. He could be that. There are warning signs there that he's got addiction issues, mental health issues, and he's not getting the support he needs. And you as friends aren't looking after him. But you're too scared to approach him because of that stigma of discussing mental health and addiction. We need to start breaking down that stigma, saying boys don't cry. Well, we do. We do. It's weak. No, actually, it's the toughest conversations I've had are opening up about my addiction and mental health issues and supporting my friends through theirs. Yet, at that time, just before and just after COVID, I had that best summer in 2020, and that was around those two tough conversations. Because once that boundary broke down, suddenly I felt more relaxed. My friends felt more relaxed. We didn't have to worry as much about each other because we were spending a lot of time together and we were doing activities that were fun. Which a few years before we'd have gone, oh, that's really boring. That's for old people who do walks on rivers. Actually, having our adventures around the Thames Valley, we found out some fun stuff. We found out stuff about ourselves internally, and we found out how actually strong we were as people. So my friend who had the kidney transplant could have died 6 months earlier. He nearly didn't make it to his transplant day. He nearly died. So for him, he was living his best life because he was told a year before he wouldn't be here. 3.5 years later, he is still with us. My other friend, okay, he's changed a couple of jobs, but he's still in the same industry. And guess what? He's in a better place now than what he was. He's had his struggles, but if it wasn't for that summer, I don't think he deals with the struggles he has had. He's had some health issues. He was told he's got his heart condition could kill him, but he's weathered it better. He's adapted his lifestyle around his health issue, where he's in a better place. And there was points where things got difficult during the various lockdowns we had and the various issues we had with the pandemic, where he was starting to drink too much again, and we had to step in. And he reacted, not well, but then he came around quicker than we realised. He's still here. Like it, they got me through some tough times. I lost my job. My friends were like, "We're gonna look after you," and they got me back into work like that. And then I had my motorcycle accident 2 years ago. And for old subscribers to the channel who've been subscribed longer, I was very, very ill. Really ill. And that's when it hit me. And that's when my friend Rob, kidney transplant, my friend Sam, furlough heart condition, they were making sure I was still here. They were phoning me up almost on a daily at one point. And it's because of how we broke down that stigma the summer before, how we broke down that barrier where we were too scared to talk about our issues with drink and drugs and depression. When we were having our tough days, we suddenly worked out it's okay to have a tough day because I know I've got someone to support me through the tough day. And I know when they have a tough day or a tough patch, I can support them. That summer of 2020 is where we broke that stigma. We as a society need to have a summer like 2020 where we all break down that stigma. And we go to that stigma. That's the stigma. Stigma's up here. You can do one. And we bring in the positivity. We look after each other. We need to look after each other more. Now, I've discussed my issues on previous videos, but now I want you guys to make sure when you are hanging out with your mates, you do activities that don't necessarily involve alcohol and recreationals, because I know a lot of you do that. And let's just say, instead of having a barbecue this weekend, the weather's nice, let's get on the mountain bikes and let's go on a mountain bike trail. Or, hey, the weather's nice, how about we take our wives or girlfriends and kids and do a joint day out. We go down to a museum or a heritage railway or the country or a castle, or we go out into the countryside and we all do the mountain bike or walking trail. Something like that. Because as soon as I've done this video, I'm going to have my lunch. I'm going to go out for a walk because it's lovely weather. There's a local ridge line near where I live, where I can see the Spinnaker Tower 45 miles away on a clear day. Guess what? It's a clear day. There's a slight breeze, so the pollution that's going to be blown out the way. I can see the south coast just from where I live. 2 mile walk. I'm on a beautiful bit of woodland, which is a high ridge line. The valley slopes away. It is a fantastic view. It's a nice quiet spot. It's a relaxing spot. The fresh air. Hey, when I was in my late teens, early 20s, I'd have laughed at that guy. I'd have gone, it's effeminate, gay. I would have not done it. Now that I'm in my mid-30s, actually, it's kind of cool to do things like that. It's kind of cool just to take that little break, go for the walk, get the fresh air in the lungs. Because, hey, it's nice to be out with nature sometimes. Sometimes it's little activities like that. Go paintballing. Go airsofting. Airsofting's fun. Paintballing's fun. I've got a lot of friends who do airsofting. I've got a lot of friends a couple of my friends have their own paintballing team. Sometimes, if the weather's a bit crap, invite your friends over. Get out the old consoles. Play Sonic or Mario on the Nintendo or the Sega. Play Tekken on the old PlayStation. Hey, N64, play GoldenEye. Come on, get the old consoles out, dust them off, and go. Hang on, you want to have a bit of a Tekken marathon? I want to play a bit of Tekken 3, unlock all the characters. I've got 2 character skins left to unlock on Tekken 3. It's just taken me since 1999 to get to this point. 2 character skins left. I've got to figure out how to do it. But things, something like that. Get on. Hey, if the weather's bad or there's a weather warning and you can't go visit your friends, get online. Play Call of Duty. I know you guys do that. Play FIFA. Play whatever video game. Get on the online chat, get on that lobby, and go, right, we're gonna play team deathmatch today. We're gonna play zombies today on Call of Duty. We're all gonna prestige today. We're all gonna get to that prestige level. We're gonna get the KD up to 10-1. We're all gonna that Joey Diaz motivational speech. Joey Diaz, the Latin American comedian, Uncle Joey. If you go on Instagram, he got his Instagram. Some of his motivational speeches. He's like, I want you and me. We're going to fight the world. We're going to take on. There's no quit. There's no quit. There is no quit. You cannot quit on yourself, and you cannot quit on your friends. But you have to do it you can't do it alone. That's why I found out you can't do things by yourself. You've got to sometimes rely on a good mate to get you through it. And a lot of us are single men. We may live by ourselves. I live by myself. It's tough. But you've got to know, where's my phone? Here's my phone. I've lost my phone. A phone call, a text message, just here. Do not be afraid to go. I haven't spoken to that mate for a while. We had an argument last time because I raised he was drinking too much or I was drinking too much. I want to reach out. Sometimes reach out to that friend you haven't reached out to in a while. They'll appreciate it. But we have to break the stigma. That's something I did. It's got me through a tough time. We have to break that stigma, that societal stigma. We have to break the stigma surrounding mental health. We have to. Otherwise, more and more of us are going to go through struggles alone, scared, and it's claiming lives. It cannot be right. And unfortunately, central government and the health services and the mental health services, they're either not funded enough or they're not equipped in the right ways. And certain charities like Movember alone cannot carry us. We've got to look after ourselves. We've got to look out for each other. Because unfortunately, the society we live in, it's tough right now. But there are ways of looking after each other and looking out for each other and doing things together which don't cost the earth. If you're worried about money, it doesn't have to be money. You can still do stuff together that's free. It's just hanging out. If that means you're hanging out in the back garden, just invite them over, have a cup of coffee, and just sit there and chill for 2 hours and just talk smack about sport, that could be enough to save a life. So look after each other, end that stigma, end the stigma around mental health. From me for now, thank you very much for listening to my rambles. I really hope it's helped, and I will have some more content for you guys very, very soon.